Hello and welcome to part one of everything of me discussing my ideas on YouTube, me discussing how I feel about the world, what I think of the world, and usually me telling you how you should be thinking about the world too. Or whatever. Me just discussing ideas basically. So this part one is a little bit of an introduction, just sort of describing my standpoint on the world, my viewpoint of the world, where I come from, so that when I refer to some of these things later, maybe this will be like a nice little point of reference to know what I'm talking about. So I often refer to nihilism, or I talk about nihilism. Nihilism is just sort of, I use it as a catch-all word. You know, I'm probably using it totally inappropriately, and it's not how it was meant, or whatever, but I just use it as a catch-all because it sounds nice, and I feel like it really just describes, it naturally seems to describe the values I have, or more importantly, the lack of values I have, and the lack of value I feel the world has. So my description of that is sort of like similar to a lot of Buddhist and Taoist thinking, similar kind of things from what I understand, is that I have never read too much of them, but the world has no inherent value. Life has no inherent meaning. Actually, I guess it's not like Buddhist, because they're all about karma and ascending to other levels. So I don't believe in ascension or descension. I don't think things get better or worse. They only get better or worse relative to other things. And even then, they're not better or worse, they're just different. It's whether you prefer them that way. So you could say that my body is getting worse, you know, because kidneys are failing or something. Don't worry, they're not, as far as I know. But it's not that they're getting worse. They're just getting into a state which I do not want them to for my survival, for my other things that I want in life. So it might sound like a silly distinction, and you know, everyone's going, of course, that's how I see the world. You know, it's relative to what I want or what I think. But people tend to use these, what they think of as objective morals or objective standards, like this thing is better than this, and everyone knows that, and that's a thing that's better. And I just don't subscribe to that, and I don't care for it, and I think it's a limiting and shitty way of looking at the world. It's just, it closes you off, and it's counterproductive, because the world is what it is, and the longer you look at it, the more you realize that there is no inherent value. There's no molecule inside of a smile that is that makes it a better thing than a frown. You know, there's different chemicals that are released when you see a smile and when you see a frown, and those chemicals have different effects on your body. And if that's an effect that you're looking to have, then maybe you should be looking at some smiles. But that's the whole point. Having a nihilistic understanding, to me anyway, means just having to look at things as a chain of events. And it's kind of taxing, and it's kind of time consuming, and it kind of sucks, you know. It's really easy. It would be much easier to be like, that's a smile. Smiles are good. God loves smiles, or whatever. It's really easy. You just, it's solved. You don't have to think about it. But in my world, you got to think about everything. There's nothing you can't think about, because that means you're dead. If your brain's not working, you're dead. And I don't want to be dead. I like being alive. I evolved to care about being alive, and therefore I'm going to continue to want to be alive. That's my second point about nihilism. Something I'm sure I'll get into a lot more later, is that life, this is a scary one, people. Life has no inherent value. You have no inherent value. You're not special. There's nothing, you are special. Compared to other people, you're totally special. You have interesting traits and qualities, no insult to anyone. But the fact that you're alive is not a special thing. It's not a miracle. It's a thing that billions of people do. They make other people. That's like pretty much the only thing we do. Most of our everything is focused around it. It's not special. It's not magical. It's not supernatural. It's a chain of events, and it's always occurred as long as there's been people, and it'll probably continue to occur. So that's not a valuable thing. Like it's not a thing that falls outside of nature or just natural understanding or of evolution of the world. And that's how I think everything should be viewed, and I think that's just how everything is. Everything exists in a chain of events, and to think otherwise is self-delusion. To think that something is happening because it should, or there's like some special reason other than the things that directly caused it, is you lying to yourself. The reason why I don't think lying to yourself is good, or the reason I don't think it's something you should do, the reason I continue to think in a nihilistic way, in an objectivist way, in a direct way, is because I think it gives me more power over the world around me, and it gives me more ability to influence myself and everything else. More importantly, myself. It gives me the ability to really change who I am, or to change how I act, and to change how I feel. It gives me the ability to not hate things, to not be stigmatized by things, to not get upset by certain things that I would otherwise be very upset or stigmatized by. I can totally get upset like anyone else, but I get over things very, very quickly and very completely. I don't hold grudges, and I don't get that upset by things. And I attribute that to my understanding of the world. Because when something is upsetting to me, it's just a matter of breaking it down, understanding what the cause and effects are, and if it's a thing I can change, I change it. If I can't change it, fucking forget it. It's just, it is what it is. That's the thing that I say a lot, and that's the thing you'd say a lot too, with any kind of this understanding, is it is what it is. That's sort of the answer to everything. So I'm probably going to leave it there for now, because there's a lot more things to get into. The main point to take is nihilism, or whatever, objectivism, something or other. Things only, this is where I come from, things only exist because something else pushed them to exist. Each thing just has a thing before it, preceding it, and has another thing afterwards, proceeding it. And there's no higher value, there's no higher system, there's no... Morals are not they're not a real thing, they're a thing we decide or we agree upon as a culture. Any afterlife that, sure, I don't know, I'm not dead, but sure, any life that happens, any sort of existence that happens after life is just if it does, is just an extension of life that is happening. It is not a thing that is granted by any divine thing for any reason, and our lives aren't special, and they don't hold any actual value. Your life is a vessel that allows you, it's an existence that, and it allows you to do things within it. So if you feel like doing something, do it. If you don't feel like doing something, don't do it. It doesn't actually matter either way. Any impact you have will only be the impact you have. You're not going to change the world. You're probably going to change some things in the world. So do what you got to do. Peace.